Welcome to all the students once again to the online lecture of Elements of Company Law. So in the previous lecture, we have seen the first part of the types of company. And today we will see the second part of the types of company. If you remember, we have seen the types of company on the basis of formation and number of members. So on the basis of formation, we have seen statutory companies and registered company. And on the basis of number of members, we have seen public company and private company. And in this, we have seen the advantages and disadvantages of public and a private company. And what are the special privileges which are enjoyed by the private company. Also, we have seen the distinction between a public and a private company. So your first part of the types of company comprises of the two bases, that is formation and number of members, in which we have in detail seen the public company and the private company and their distinction. Now in the today's lecture, we will see on the basis of liability, and on the basis of liability there are three types of company: company limited by shares, company limited by guarantee, and company and unlimited companies. And we will see on the basis of control, that is holding company, subsidiary company and associate company. And the other kinds of companies, which include one-person company, charitable companies, dormant company, sick company, small company, listed company, and the last, foreign company. So let us begin our lecture on the basis of liability. If you see on the basis of liability, first comes company limited by shares, and it has been defined under the Act under section 2 subsection 22. What is the section? Please remember the section, because it is very important to write section in your paper. You are writing a law paper and you are not writing the section, then it is very worthless. So please remember the sections, okay? So company limited by shares, it is defined in the section 2 under subsection 22. So what does it say? A company having the liability of its members limited by the memorandum of association to the amount, if any, unpaid on the shares respectively held by them is termed as a company limited by shares in this act. So this is the definition which is given under the section 2 subsection 22. Okay, it is very easy to understand. It says what? That a companies whose shares are limited are liable to pay only that much amount only which is unpaid on the shares. For example, in an example you will be clear about the concept. They see a shareholder who has paid 80 on a share of face value 100. A share has a face value of 100, of which 80 rupees have been paid by the shareholder. ठीक है, 100 rupees में से 80 rupees has been paid. So how much has not been paid? 20. So that shareholder will be liable to pay only 20 rupees only. Okay, that is limited by shares. The amount which is unpaid, that much amount only will be paid by the shareholder. Here the value is 100 and he has paid 80 rupees. So the balance is 20. So he will be liable to pay that much amount only, that is 20 only, because that much amount he has not paid. That is the meaning of company limited by shares. Okay. Now next comes companies limited by guarantee. This has been defined in section 2 subsection 21. So a company having the liability of its members limited by the memorandum of association to such amount as the members may respectively undertake by the memorandum to contribute to the assets of the company in the event of its being wound up is termed as a company limited by guarantee. So here what has been said, a company is limited by guarantee, that under the memorandum of association, they make the respectively the members, that is the shareholders, undertake to contribute certain amount of assets in the event of wound up. So whatever the guarantee they have taken, only that much amount they have to be paid, or that much amount they have to give, or that asset they have to contribute. Here means the companies by limited by guarantee means here that. Okay, and it is defined in section 2 subsection 21. Next comes yours unlimited companies. Why it is called unlimited companies? Because they have unlimited liability. That is why they are called as unlimited company, and it has been defined in section 2 subsection 92. So a company not having any limit on the liability of its members is termed as an unlimited company. It can either be a private or a public company. So unlimited company can be a private or a public company, or a one-person company also. These kinds of companies are rarely formed and there is no declaration about any limit on members' liability in the memorandum. So unlimited liability means there is no provision or there is no such declaration in the memorandum of association about the limit of the liability. So if there is a debt, then the shareholders are personally liable also to pay the debts of the company. So that is the meaning of unlimited companies. If you see company limited by shares and company limited by guarantee, there are some limit. In limited by shares, the shareholders are liable to pay that much amount only which they have not paid. In guarantee, that much amount or that much asset that they have guaranteed to pay to the company, then they will pay that only. But in this case, nothing has been mentioned. So the members' liability are unlimited. That is the difference between the three. Okay. Now we will move on the basis of control of management. In this, first comes holding company. And holding company has been defined in section 2, subsection 46. Okay. So what is a holding company is? A company is considered to be holding company of another if, but only if, that other is its subsidiary. In other words, a holding company should have control over the other subsidiary company. Why it is called holding company? Because a holding company is controlling some other company also. So if it is controlling some other company also, that company is a subsidiary company, and the company which is controlling the other company is called as holding company. So holding company will be called a holding company if it is controlling some other subsidiary company or some other company. That is what has been said in section 2, subsection 46. Okay. Now next comes subsidiary company. अब subsidiary company क्या होते हैं? That is defined in section 2, subsection 87. A company is known as a subsidiary of a holding company in the following circumstances. So in what circumstances a subsidiary company will be called a holding company, subsidiary of a holding company? There are two circumstances. First one is where a holding company controls the composition of board of directors of such a company. And second one is where holding company exercises more than 1/2 of the total share capital either at its own or together with one or more of its subsidiary companies. So a subsidiary company will be called as a subsidiary company when that holding company, the company which is controlling that company, have a control over the composition of board of directors. और secondly, that holding company exercises more than half of the total share capital. मतलब 50% से ज़्यादा share capital पे उसका हक है. That is then in that case we will call it as a subsidiary company. क्या कहा गया है? More than 1/2 of the total share capital. मतलब 50% से ज़्यादा share capital पे उसका क्या होगा? कंट्रोल होगा. तो दैट कंपनी इज अ subsidiary company. और किसका कंट्रोल होगा? होल्डिंग कंपनी का, जो उसे कंट्रोल कर रही है. Getting it? That is the meaning of subsidiary company here. ठीक है? More than 1/2. Okay? More than 1/2 है 50% से ज़्यादा. Okay? Now next comes associate company. An associate company is defined in the section 2, subsection 6. Okay? So associate company in relation to another company means a company in which that other company has a significant influence, but which is not a subsidiary company of the company having such influence and includes a joint venture company. Okay? The term significant influence used in the above definition is defined to mean control of at least 20% of total share capital or of business decisions under an agreement. Here, associate company is different from subsidiary company in what sense that it is not a subsidiary company. Here, just another company has some significant influence in such kind of companies. Only significant influence. And here, significant influence means what? That other company controls at least 20% of share capital. It is just controlling the 20% of share capital. But if you see the case of subsidiary company, it is controlling more than 50% of the share capital. So that is the difference between a subsidiary company and an associate company. Associate company has a significant influence. It is influencing the work of the business, or it is influencing the decisions of the business, or having at least 20% of the share capital in its control. Okay, so associate company is in relation to another company. Associate company will be that company associate company will be that company in which the another company which is controlling it 20% of the share capital only, or it has a significant influence on its decision, then that company is called as associate company. Getting it? Okay, now let us move to the other kinds of companies. In that, first comes your one-person company, or we call that as OPC. This has been defined in section 2, subsection 62. So what does it say? One-person company means a company which has only one person as a member. It is a private company and it has to fulfill and comply with all the formalities of a private company unless otherwise specified in the Act or rules. It has been introduced to encourage entrepreneurship and corporatization of business. See, it has been included why? To encourage the entrepreneurship among the people. Okay? And one-person company means that only one person is as a member. Only one person can form the company. That is why it is called as one-person company. And it is considered as a private company, not a public company. It is considered as a private company. कॉर्पोरेट को बढ़ाने के लिए, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को encourage करने के लिए, this has new kind of a company has been introduced in the Companies Act 2013, which is called as one-person company. Why? Because only one person can form such company. There is only one person member is required to form such kind of company. Okay, and such companies have been given certain relaxations under the Act. See, such OPC can have one or more directors, and they are likely to get liberty to have fewer disclosures. Moreover, there is no need to hold journal meetings, including annual journal meeting. Even provisions relating to voting, poll, proxy, quorum, etc. related to journal meeting are not applicable to the one-person company. So one-person company can have all the advantages of a private limited company. So this is what are the advantages of a one-person company. Okay. Now let us see charitable companies, or we can call it as Section 8 companies. The charitable companies are also called as Section 8 companies. Section 8 of the Act provides for formation of companies with charitable objects. Therefore, they are called as Section 8 companies. So these companies are formed basically with the object of charity, and they are also called as Section 8 companies. Charitable companies may be a private or a public or a one-person company. So the Section 8 companies, or you can say the charitable companies, can be a private company or a public company, or it can be a one-person company. Okay. As a Section 8 company is registered as a limited company under Section 8 of the Companies Act 2013 and holds the license from central government and has in its objects the promotion of commerce, science, art, education, sports, religion, social welfare, charity, or any such other objects. The central government has got authority to grant a license for incorporating a charitable company. So the charitable company will function only when the license is granted by the central government. Remember this point. Okay. And these companies are formed for the promotion of what? They are formed with the object of promotion. Their objective is what? Charity. And their objective is to promote commerce, science, art, education, sports, religion, social welfare, and etc. So these are the objectives behind formation of Section 8 companies or a charitable company. See, such companies will have certain tax benefits under the Income Tax Act. Moreover, they can also enjoy privileges of limited companies. And a charitable company can be amalgamated only with a charitable company. Okay. However, the other company should have objects similar to the objects of this company. It is to be noted that charitable companies cannot alter memorandum or articles without obtaining approval from the central government. See, there are two important documents which we will see in the second chapter, that is Memorandum of Association and Articles of Association. So in this case, in the case of Section 8 companies, or you can say charitable companies, the memorandum or articles can be changed, but with the approval of the central government only. Okay. So the license of the charitable company can be revoked or can be cancelled by the central government under the following circumstances. First, if it contravenes the provisions of Section 8, means it does not follow the rules of the Section 8, or if it violates the conditions subject to which license is issued, or if the affairs of the company are conducted fraudulently or by violating objects of the company, and if it is against the public interest. So these are the three cases under which the license of the charitable company can be cancelled or can be revoked by the central government. Okay, so this is what your charitable company is. Next comes your dormant companies. So what does a dormant company mean? See, where a company is formed and registered under the Companies Act for a future project or to hold an asset or intellectual property and has no significant accounting transaction, such a company or an inactive company may make an application to the registrar in such a manner as may be prescribed for obtaining the status of a dormant company. And this has been defined in section 455 subsection 1. So dormant company is basically formed and registered under the Companies Act for a future project. See, the company is formed, but it is being formed for a future project. Some future project is there and for which it has been formed. It is not operating now, but it will operate in future for which it has been formed. There is an object for these companies to be formed and that object is the futuristic. Okay? That is why it is called as dormant company. Are you getting it? Here the two words are used. First one is inactive company. So what does this inactive company means? See, inactive company means a company which has not been carrying on any business or operation or has not made any significant accounting transaction during the last 2 financial years or has not filed financial statements and annual returns during the last 2 financial years. So inactive company means they are not carrying out any business during the last 2 financial years. 2 साल तक उन्होंने पिछले 2 फाइनेंशियल ईयर तक उन्होंने कोई भी एक्टिविटी बिजनेस एक्टिविटी नहीं की है. दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ इनएक्टिव कंपनी हियर. Okay, now one more word is here, that is significant accounting transaction. So what does the word significant accounting transaction mean in the definition of dormant company? It means any transaction other than A, payment of fees by a company to the registrar, B, payments made by it to fulfill the requirements of this act or any other law, and C, allotment of shares to fulfill the requirements of this act, and D, payment of maintenance of its office and records. Leaving these 4 transactions, if any transaction is made, then it will considered as a significant accounting transactions. Okay, so that is the meaning of here significant accounting transaction and an inactive company means. So leaving these 4, if any transaction is done, then it will be considered as significant accounting transaction. So there should be no significant accounting transaction leaving these 4 payments. Okay, is it clear? So this is what your dormant companies means. Okay, next comes SIC company. The secure creditors of a company representing 50% or more of its outstanding of its amount of debts are required to serve notice on company to pay the due within 30 days. If the company fails to pay the debt within 30 days of the service of the notice of demand or to secure or compound it to the reasonable satisfaction of the creditors, any secured creditor will have the right to file an application to the National Company Law Tribunal with evidence for a determination of that the company be declared as SIC company, and this has been defined in section 253 subsection 1. Getting it? So here SIC company means what? That the secured creditors whose 50% या उससे ज़्यादा outstanding amount किसी company को उसने दिया है, and if they have served the notice to the company to pay their dues within the 30 days, and if it does not pay, then those secure creditors can go to the or can file an application to the National Company Law Tribunal with the evidence that so and so company has not paid our debt within the 30 days of our application also. Then such company can be declared as a SIC company according to the section 253 subsection 1. Are you getting it? So this is what the meaning of SIC company here is. Okay, I will give a simple example of it. See, AB Limited has a total debt of rupees 500 crores. ठीक है, कितना debt है? 500 crores का. It has to pay a 500 crores, and 2 banks have lent 300 crore to AB Limited. See, here it should be 350. Okay, here it should be a 350. Okay, let me correct it. See, here should be 350, then only it will contribute to 50%. What I have said here, 50% or more. So for example, AB Limited has a total debt of rupees 500 crore. How much total debt? 500 crore. And two banks have lent 350 crore. So it is 50%. 500 crores का डेप्ट है एंड 350 crores उन्होंने दो बैंक से लिए हैं टू AB through a consortium agreement. Okay. In such situation, on failure to pay a debt within 30 days of the demand notice, any bank can file an application to the tribunal that AB Limited may be declared as a sick company. So any of the bank has filed an application to the company that please pay our debt within the 30 days. And if the company failed to do so, then any of the bank can file an application to the tribunal saying that declare the AB Limited as a sick company because they are unable to pay our 350 crore. So this is what your sick company means. 50% or more of its outstanding amount. 500 crore का डेप्ट है बट मोर देन 350 करोड़ किसने दिया है? टू बैंक्स ने. तो ये 50% हुआ. 500 crore का 50% 350 crore हुआ and they are unable to pay. So any of the bank can put an application to the tribunal saying that please declare the AB Limited as a sick company because they are unable to pay our debts. ठीक है? This is the meaning of sick company here. Now next comes small company. Small company has been defined in section 2 subsection 85. Small company means a company other than a public company. So small company is not a public company. It can be a private company, it can be a one-person company or other than any company, but it cannot be a public company. ये public company नहीं हो सकती. So small company means a company other than a public company whose paid up share capital of which does not exceed 50 lakh rupees or such higher amount or as may be prescribed, which shall not be more than 10 crore rupees. Okay. And the next, turnover of which as per profit and loss account of the immediately preceding financial year does not exceed 2 crore rupees or such higher amount as may be prescribed, which shall not be more than 100 crore rupees. So a small company will be that company whose paid up share capital is not more than 50 lakh and whose turnover is not more than 2 crore. Then it will be declared as a small company. It is very easy to define a small company and it has been defined in section 2 subsection 85. Next comes your listed companies. It has been defined in section 2 subsection 52. So listed company means a company which has any of its securities listed on any recognized stock exchanges. A public limited company can be a listed company or an unlisted company. So listed companies are those companies whose shares or whose securities are listed in any stock exchange. Okay, so those are listed companies. And stock exchange में those companies shares are only listed which are public limited company. So in this case, a public limited company can be a listed company and can be an unlisted company. Let us see what is listed company, public listed company or an unlisted company. See, when a company has issued shares to public and its shares are listed in any recognized stock exchange, then it is called as listed company. If a company has issued shares to the public and that shares are listed in the stock exchanges, then that kind of company is called listed company. On the other side, when a company has not invited public to take its share, it is referred to as unlisted company. And वो company जो है, those who have not appointed the people or those who have not invited the public to take its shares, then such kind of companies are called as unlisted companies. So this is the difference between listed company and unlisted company. Okay. Now next comes foreign companies, and the foreign companies has been defined in the section 2 subsection 42. So what does a foreign company means? A foreign company means any company or body corporate incorporated outside India, which A has a place of business in India, whether by itself or through an agent, physically or through electronic mode, and B conducts any business activity in India in any other manner. So such company has been defined as a foreign company. Okay? Now here word comes place of business. What does this word place of business means? See, the word of place of business used in the above definition would mean any specified or identified place at which it carries on its business. And it may be an office, storehouse, godown, or any premises having some established connection between locality and business. And if some officers of a foreign company regularly come to India and stay in a particular hotel to look after the purchase of some material, it would be considered as a place of business. So this is what the place of business here means. So these were the other kinds of companies we have seen here. I hope you have enjoyed or you have learned the types of companies which have been covered by me in the two parts, part 1 and part 2. Thank you very much for watching this video.